Welcome to the Co-Host Bros podcast, the #1 show for short-term rental operators, co-hosts, and hospitality entrepreneurs who are done playing small. 2 hosts, 1 mission: help you build a short-term rental business that actually works. Every week, Matt Codd and Austin Spitzenberger bring you real talk, real strategies, and real results from the people actually doing it in the STR industry. Whether you are just starting out or scaling to your next 100 doors, this is your show. Let's get into it.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 114, where we're trying to teach you how to make that green. My name is Matt Codd, and I'm hanging out with Austin Spitzenberger. We are the Co-Host Bros podcast. Today, we have an epic guest. He's done all kinds of crazy things. Cameron Masters is in the house. So what is going on, fellas?
What's up? What's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
You know, just a little excited, trying to figure out how many things rhyme with teen, since I have to do that for the next 6 episodes or 5 episodes. I was just thinking today, like, holy crap, I better listen to what I said at 113. So yeah, it's gonna be a little rough.
No, man, I think
Thanks
the intro was
guys.
Yeah, Cameron, super excited to have you on here, man. Like I talked about before we hit the live button, I heard you on STR Secrets, and I've been seeing a lot of cool stuff of you posting on Facebook and stuff like that. So, man, super excited to get into your journey. And yeah, man, how you doing today?
Good, man. Overall good. Just staying busy.
Cool, man.
Like I said, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. We'll jump right into it. For maybe those of our listeners that don't know you or your journey, why don't you give us maybe a little background of how maybe you got into the space and what it is you do today?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of maybe longer background. I was an engineer for a long time in the defense industry. I say a long time, about 6 years. Started investing in real estate in 2020, bought a short-term rental in 21, bought a second one in 22, and was looking for a way to get out of the W-2 and started managing for others in like June of 2023 and left my job in July of 2023. And since then, I've gone from 1 client under management to over 140.
That's insane. That's rapid growth. So what's the name of your company, and like where are you guys? What markets are you in?
So we have 2 companies. We've got a big thing on our list is figuring out how we're going to merge them together. So business partner and I named Jeremy, we own Remote Retreats, which is based out of Yosemite in the Oakhurst area, Bass Lake. And then we also manage out in Lake Tahoe. We do all around the lake currently, and that is Lake Tahoe Accommodations. They've been around for about 46 years.
Okay, gotcha. So run me through like how your portfolio got from 1 to 140 in such a short period of time. Like just give me like a little overview of how that happens, because you can't just like kind of casually say, hey, I started in 2023 and I have 140 properties under management without zooming out, because everyone listening is going to be like, man, I'm way behind. Like, how did he do that in 2 years? He's averaging 70 properties a year.
So it was honestly pretty slow. Like I had 1 client in June of 23. I didn't sign another client until like January of 24. I think I signed like 9 clients within like 4 or 5 months. And then, made some changes. I was in more markets and trimmed down over the next couple of years. And then I went to Verma in October of last year, I think. October of last year. And I realized, hey, there's people that run really big companies here more than like, I think when I was building it, I was like, oh, it'll be like a side hustle. I'll still work quite a bit. And when I got there, there's directors of cleanings and entire organizations. And I was like, okay, I want to go bigger. And shortly after that, I joined another mastermind regarding like acquisitions of management companies and started putting the word out I was looking. And my business partner actually found this deal and sent it to me. And I said, hey, do you want to partner on this? And we acquired that company and closed in May. And that added 125-ish doors to our portfolio.
Yeah, that's crazy. How is that? So May, June, July, August. So it's been like 3 months. I keep freezing in there, going eye rolling, I guess. It's like 3. So it's been like 3 months. So how painful has that been? And what steps are you taking to try to ease the pain? And how many owners did you lose, out of curiosity?
We haven't lost any owners yet. We have one owner offboarding that we talked to yesterday, but he was already offboarding before we closed. So
Wow.
he moved to another management company. We tried to call him yesterday to see if he'd give us a shot. So we haven't lost any owners yet. We do expect to lose, 10% or so. But overall, I mean, it's been pretty painful, but we're making a lot of the right movements. We hired an EOS coach to bring in EOS into the company, so we just had our first quarterly with our general manager, and we'll be rolling that out in 2 weeks to the rest of the team, and hopefully get everybody on the same page and go over culture and vision and what our goals are for the business and how we can help everybody reach their goals as well. But we got in. I think there were just things we didn't expect were going to be the way they were. We assumed like, hey, we use this for messaging. We're like, great, they have automated messaging. And we got in there, we're like, oh, they don't actually use automated messaging. They're manually checking in guests. So we're like, okay, we've got to change a bunch of stuff now. We were going to like wait through summer and just kind of like see where we could help. And then we kind of made some changes. So it's been a big push, but we're at the end of summer now. The first thing we did was our biggest impact so far has been bringing on our revenue manager from the other company, and then updating all the listings and photos and descriptions and all that. And we still have a bunch of that stuff we need to do going forward and getting all the owners to get new photos, etc. But it's been painful, but it's been fun. I've been juiced up. It's been a good time.
So when you took on this, because you were telling me that you had, or offline, that you had 15 properties, and then you ended up buying this company with over 100. Like, how did you come up with a game plan on what the hell you're gonna do? Like, you're going for 15. It's like, oh, we're going to 100 and something now. What do we do? Like, what's the first thing that we need to do?
It's like, what's the Mike Tyson quote? Like, everybody has a plan to get hit in the mouth. So we walked in there. We had already like met with our EOS implementer. We had like drawn out like, here's what our plan is, what we think we need to do when we get in there. And we got in there. We're like, oh, this is not the plan. And so we kind of just worked through all of it and just took everything as it came. And the hard part is I think most people, they go through an acquisition, if it would have been the other way around, we would have just sucked them into our systems and everything would have kept churning. But it's hard to say, hey, we're at 15 doors and we're on Hospitable. They're on 125 doors at another PMS. It's May. We're not going to roll everybody over to a new system when they have the system and only find out that system isn't, all the systems don't work together at 140 units or whatever it is. And so we kind of just had to let them run separately and just see where we could make the most impact there on our end.
It's almost like you acquired them, but really they acquired you. Like all your operations and stuff probably went under the umbrella of theirs, but you probably had to tweak and fine tune some of those things, right? Like, because you're really just more merging your 25 units into an existing 100 unit portfolio and then optimizing it, making it more profitable, updating the photos, doing a lot of those, pulling a lot of those, ROI boosting activities, those easy levers to pull up front to make it more profitable, right?
Yeah, that was the big thing. We're like, hey, what can we bring over? But that's its own animal too, because they were all a bunch of new systems. I had never used that PMS before. They used a different messaging software, so we rolled into a new messaging software that we don't use at the other companies. So there's a whole bunch of changes. We're like, hey, I'm also learning this as I go as well. So for a couple of these things, we did hire, like, I have a buddy that's super great, and I hired him as a consultant to help us kick off some of these projects. So I was like, I would love to do this project, but it's going to take me 3 months, and I can pay this guy, he can do it in 4 weeks. So in essence, you are correct. We rolled over like our breezeway checklist. That's easy to roll those over, right? Roll over new workflows and say, here's how we're going to handle these things. But there's a lot of them where it's like, okay, well, we've got to like see how it actually works in their thing, because we don't want to just change stuff to change stuff. Maybe they run stuff better than we do. And so we just had to pick and choose what we could make an impact on that wouldn't affect everybody too much. But we did make a lot of changes on people, I think, as we were going through the summer.
Yeah. That's crazy. I always like to ask people when they acquire such big companies, like, what did you say to the owners? Like, what was your speech? Like, what was your plan? Like, I'm going to let these guys know, and how are we going to let them know?
The owners or the owner of the company?
No, the owners that you're taking over the company.
Oh, I'm very fortunate to have some mentors in the space that have gone through this process a lot. And so we went through and talked to them and crafted a letter. The owner crafted a letter. We crafted a letter. And then we also sent out a survey. And then we allowed owners to reach out and book phone calls with us or in-person meetings with us as they wanted to. We had a lower response rate for meetings and stuff than we expected, but so far it's been good. If people want to meet with us, we're trying to be as open as possible, and we're just asking people to give us time and like, hey, here's how the other company runs. We just need time to implement all these systems at a much bigger scale.
Yeah. Did you have to like schedule? How can you? If these are, let's just call it 100 different owners. How are you? Did you have to like schedule calls with them, reach out to them, meet and greet them, that kind of thing, or is it more of just like, hey, we acquired the contracts. This is what happening. Like, how did that transition process go to where you didn't like minimize ruffling of the feathers along the way? Like, how did you do that? Like, was there something that you learned and um, like, how did the owner transition process go?
I mean, we're still in it, right? It was right before summer, but really what happened is the owner of the company drafted a letter saying, hey, I'm retiring after 40 something years. Um, After a long process, here's who we talked to. We think Cameron and Jeremy are going to do a great job. Here's some details about their company. And then we wrote a letter, and inside that letter, we had, some information about us. And then we had some FAQ questions like, is my contract changing? And no, it's not changing. Nothing's changing at this time. What are some of our goals for the company, etc. So we tried to answer as many questions as we could with the letter, and then sent them a survey and said, hey, we need to know what you think we could do better so we can put this on our list and make sure we address that over the next 3 to 6 months, over the next couple of quarters after we get through summer, which is basically what we told every owner, like, hey, we're here in summer. We've got to do what we've got to do to make our current guests happy and make sure you guys stay booked. And the fall time will be our time to really execute on a more efficient scale.
No, that's awesome. Do you care to share like one learning experience? Like I know you have a community or a mentorship group, so you had some good people in your corner, which you would need to acquire such a big company with where you were at. But do you care to share like maybe one learning experience that you didn't foresee happening, or you're like, man, if I could go back next time, I'll do this different? Was there a couple of
Yeah.
those things that come to your mind where you're like, oh shit, like that was bad?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, and we have like me and Jeremy started Google because we're hoping this isn't the last one, a Google Doc of additional questions to ask. But I think in our case, if you're acquiring someone much bigger than you and you're not going to roll them into your systems, and they already have a team, etc., then you really need to see, hey, how does your tech stack exactly work, and what does the workflow look like from the guest perspective? I think that was a big one where we just assumed, hey, they're using Breezeway for messaging. It's all automated, it must be pretty customizable, and that's working for them. But then we got there and they're like, oh, they have Breezeway for messaging, but most of it was just being manually done. So manually checking in guests, not sending automated check-in messages. And we're like, oh, that's a big learning lesson that I think if it was the other way around, you're just sucking them into your company like a tuck-in, you're like, it doesn't really matter what they do there because I can run this way. The other one we wish we'd done is get insurance quotes. That was a big change for us. We realized the insurance cost went up like 35K on the transition a year, just by bringing us back up to snuff for that stuff. And then lastly, we did a stock purchase, but we went through between an asset sale and a stock sale and a couple of different, like back and forth twice. And it cost a lot more. And I think our negotiations done with our lawyers and the brokers that I wish we would have brought the lawyer in earlier and said, hey, can you give this a one look over before we submit this LOI? And we probably could have hashed out a couple of things ahead of having the LOI signed. That would have probably reduced our legal costs.
Yeah. Can you explain the difference between both of those acquisition structures the stock purchase and the other one? Just briefly explain the difference between those, so just so our listeners can better understand what you're saying, because I don't even know if I fully grasp how that works.
I didn't know until we were in contract. So
yeah, but
until you paid the legal fees. Until you paid the legal fees, then you go.
Yeah, he was like, here's our options. So really, if a contract's assignable, then you can purchase the assets, right? And the assets can include like something neat I actually recently found is this previous owner of this company. I found an LOI in a safe at the office of him submitting one to buy another management company in like 2004. And it was an asset sale. And he was like, hey, I want the phone numbers, I want this, and then I want all the contracts. And you can either purchase per contract or you can purchase on a multitude of different things. The other is like a stock purchase. So essentially, we're buying the stock of his company. We're retaining his EIN or their EIN. So in the eyes of the government, we are now the owners. So we basically like bought like 100% of some stock you see on the stock market, and now we're in charge of it. And so in that case, we are taking on the liabilities of whatever had happened previously within that company. But once again, you roll that out in your purchase agreement where you indemnify yourself against certain like employee disputes or tax issues or whatever pops up over the next few years to say, hey, we're not liable for anything prior to this date in the calendar.
Why was a stock purchase more advantageous than just purchasing per contract? Was it just because his portfolio was big enough in unit size to where it made more sense that way, or?
No, in this case, the contracts weren't explicitly assignable. And so in that case, we would have had to have every owner re-sign a new contract with us right before summer. And one, the seller didn't really want to go through all of that, right? And then it would have been like, hey, we'll probably have some more attrition right before summer, et cetera. It would have been a lot more painful and longer. And so that was the main reason why we said, hey, we can do a stock purchase, we'll get it done, and then we just reached out to the owners and we'll work through. And we know we'll lose a couple, but we just figured that out in the purchase price of what made sense to us. It's where we could accept losing a handful of owners.
Okay, so realistically, this is a learning lesson maybe for that from the seller's perspective. I mean, like you should have in your agreement that every owner agreement that's signed, those contracts should be assignable. So what you're saying is like this process, do you think the sales process would have been easier if his contracts were assignable, or how would that have affected the deal?
The legal stuff, yes, it would have been a lot easier. The admin work would have been a lot easier. So that part would have been a lot easier from a legal and admin standpoint. But I think both work fine. I think it just depends on the risk. I think there's probably a large percentage of them that are just done on asset deals for the most part. It's just a cleaner process. And I think most people are like, hey, I want to take these contracts and I want to put them under my umbrella. In our case, though, they wanted to keep their name anyways because they do 30+% direct bookings, which is phenomenal. So we were just in a little different place.
Yeah. So how about staff? Like what did their staff look like pre-acquisition versus like what came along with the business, whether it be inspectors or VAs or whatever the case may be? How did the staff transition
Yeah,
look
so they
like?
had about 10 full-time or part-time employees stateside, and then one virtual assistant. Since then, we've brought on, and then they had like an accounting firm they were working with. We brought on a new accounting firm, and then we've brought on 1, 2, 3, 4 VAs. We just hired 3 more inspectors this past couple weeks, and then we just hired another stateside guest experience person. So we inherited about 10. We'll be up to like 15 or so stateside employees with about 5 virtual assistants that have different roles. So one of them's like in expense management, and then a few people in guest experience. And then one guy's helping with a bunch of our tech stuff on the back end and projects.
Yeah. So we're like 50, 60-ish luxury listings, and we're at that point where it's like still kind of there where we don't really need it, but like we need to start looking at as we continue to grow to implementing EOS. I can't imagine doing what you're doing without implementing some form of structure by taking on all those employees and this whole thing happening. So how is it too early in the process to gauge how the EOS thing is going? I'm just asking selfishly as this is something that I would like to implement here sooner rather than later. But I can imagine in your situation that this is pretty critical.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge part if you want to work on the business rather than in the business. And like I said, we've only rolled it out to our general manager as a leadership team, and our plan is to roll it out in a couple weeks. So we actually moved. We had an office lease. We actually had a few offices around the lake that we're dealing with right now, but we moved from one. We're rolling into a new office in the next 2 weeks, and we're going to roll out EOS to the rest of the team then. But I think the big thing is there, like yesterday, I think, or the day before, me and Jeremy were sitting down. We're like, man, what are we focusing on? He's like, hey, we just did an 8-hour meeting about what was important this quarter. Let's go back up and tag through those this weekend and make sure we're working on the right things. Because really, it really helps you set aside a set of time and go, hey, you know what? Here's all the important things for the quarter that we think needs to get done. How can we trickle that down through the team and make sure everybody's focused on the right things? It also just helps build out accountability and structure. So we are doing some reorganization, not in the sense of like letting people go, in the essence of like, hey, we're just redistributing how we want our teams to function so the same people are in the same homes and that sort of thing. So we're rolling out a new system there compared to what they had as well.
Oh, I love it. So when you acquired this business, like you had to have think a lot. You thought you instantly through the process were thinking of ways that you could possibly come in, make their business better, improve it. What are some of the levers that you're able to pull or intend to doing to make the business better, make it more profitable, things like this? I think you mentioned something about photos. Like, what were some things where you're like, hey, I can immediately come in and this is a value add that I could do to their business?
Yeah, number one is I have a revenue manager I've worked with for the past year and a half, and she's been great and brought her in right away. We updated all the listings. We had photo captions to all the listings. We rearranged photos. Uh, so those are like low hanging fruit. Long term, we want to get everybody on white sheets and linens, right? We at the other company we try to keep a very very well stocked kitchen. We pay for that for the owners. So we're going to communicate that to the owners and say, hey, we're going to start carrying all this stuff. And so those are small things that gives, hopefully will lead to better reviews because people always comment about well-stocked kitchens. So those are kind of the small levers we're pulling in the near term. So we're really just focused on, hey, we want to get more bookings and also have better reviews. And those are our two levers, and everything else we're doing, we'll work backwards towards that.
Yeah, I think even just signing the onesie twosie clients, like the easiest things up front that impact revenue is funny because it translates into your management acquisition. It's just like good photos and is it revenue management being done correctly, right? So like,
Yep.
did they not? Were they not leveraging like dynamic pricing? I'm sure at that level they had to have been doing it at some degree. Um,
They
you
were they
know,
were doing dynamic pricing, but they didn't have a dedicated revenue manager as the difference. And I will say I know other operators that still run off spreadsheets. There are operators that still run pricing without using dynamic pricing out there. So I do know that exists. Uh, so that was one of the big ones. It was like, okay, we know we can improve. Like RevPAR, we're like 50% below the market, and we're like, hey, if we collect 25% of that, if we're 50% of that 50%, then we've nearly doubled revenue. Our revenue's up 50% year over year. So that was our main concern. We know we can do that. Another big goal for us this quarter is to reach out to our top 25 owners, and I'm going to roll out like property improvement plans for each owner and say, hey, here's what revenue you did last year with us. Here's what we've done over the past 3 months with you. Because a lot of our owners, like we're looking at it, and they did 12,000 last 2 Julys ago, and they did 19,000 this July. And our revenue manager was basically just trying to clean up house in July, so we're not even. Most of the July bookings weren't even her pricing. They were just what was already booked, and we were trying to fill in all the gaps and go over like, hey, in September we've already booked 50K than we booked all of last September, as of 2 or 3 days ago. So we're going to roll those out. I think we have quite a few units that we could probably boost revenue by 25%, maybe even 50% for some of them. And I just know that from taking over other units in Tahoe, where we've had one that went up, they did 100% more revenue in 2 years by doing some upgrades. So that's a big lever for us that we want to pull. That it's a win-win for us. We can take better care of their homes. They're going to get more revenue. So we just need some investment up front from the owners.
yeah. So if you think you said maybe on the call, like your churn through this transition, maybe 10% expected or whatever. I guess my question to you is like, within that portfolio, has there been any like properties in there where you're like, hey, 5% of this does X amount of revenue and it doesn't make business sense to keep? Was there any slashing on your end when you brought these properties in and you're looking at like, the per class P&L or whatever, and you're like, man, this property, this property, this property, or you're just like, hey, we're just going to keep them all, keep rolling, and we'll take a look at this later. I should know if there was any inventory that you maybe didn't want to keep uh, through
So
acquiring.
that's another goal this quarter. We're going to redo our contract for not to like push to every owner, but say, hey, how do we want to structure our fee structure? They're like, well, hey, we can keep owners feel like they're getting a better deal and it's a win-win for us. But we decided to wait until after summer. We didn't want to drop anybody right before summer. And so we want to do right by our owners and say, hey, if they're not a fit long-term, then we'll figure it out then, but we want to give them enough time to find another solution instead of leaving them hanging out to dry, because that's not the reputation we want to have in the market. So
Yeah.
we'll be going through those in the next 2 months. It's kind of our plan. Get those out by October and talk to all the owners and see what needs to happen. And hopefully we keep, most of the owners. That's the plan.
Yeah, and I think the ones that your team will find out real quick the problem properties if there are any. Maybe the previous owner, maybe he did a good job of filtering those out. But anyways, yeah, I don't know, Matt, you got something?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want you to tell everybody about the present that you got with the company. Your little special machine you told me about because I thought it was funny.
Oh yeah, we
Uh,
own a check. We own 7 industrial printers, but we also own a check printer. So we've got it's straight out of the 80s is our business. You know, we've got a couple hundred boxes of paperwork, um, file cabinets everywhere, all sorts of stuff. We have desk phones, you name it, we've got it. So
I love it. He told me they were paying all the owners by checks, Austin, earlier. So it kind of cracked me up. That's how the old manager was printing checks all
How long
month
had they
long.
been doing it? They must have been doing it for like one of those legacy managers, or that's just how they
he's
did it,
he,
or
the seller helped found the BRMA.
oh
So
wow.
You said
he's
like
like
42 years, right?
they were opened in 1979.
Jesus.
He didn't he didn't retire until like 90s. So he was still running this thing. So they had like I think like a third of our owners were on checks, and so we asked them last month to move over to checkbook, and if they, which is from the PMS we use, and we just say, hey, if you have questions, give us a call. We're glad to set up for you. And if we need to make a couple exemptions, we will. But we're using TopKey now, and so we can just send the check through TopKey then. But we don't have to physically print them anymore, so that's a big perk.
Wow.
So that was someone's job every month. Go through all
But
the
if you
checks,
needed
print
to,
print one to make sure all the numbers are right, and then print them all back, and then double check. So we've got a bunch of blank checks and stuff in our office.
Yeah, if he needs to print a check, he can, just in case.
Yeah.
So if you need a check, you could just call Cameron; he'll print you one. Yeah. So I look at it like this. Like I think that's good because I feel like there's just so much low hanging fruit by you picking that company up that you're going to be able to like vastly improve it. And I think people are like your owners and even the employees, their minds are probably going to be blown with all the improvement processes that you could probably put in place. So at that size, do they have their own cleaning staff, or did you inherit a cleaning company too, or are you trying to like get rid of the cleaners and switch them around? Like, what's your plan with that?
We work with like cleaning companies and contractors for cleaning, and then we have maintenance people in house though.
Interesting. So are you planning on restructuring any of that, or you just going to leave it the way it is and just see how it goes? Or
I mean, our plan is to build essentially scorecards and see what's working and what isn't, and use them accordingly. So we have a couple of maintenance guys, and we're going to put them at, one guy's going to be in charge of North Lake, one person's going to be in charge of South Lake, and then that's how they'll run their stuff, because we can bill those hours and at a cheaper rate than handymen around the lake are. But that's kind of our plan going forward, and then we'll just see what we need to do and address it quarterly if we're having an issue.
interesting. What about laundry at that scale? Is it just the same? The cleaner's just doing it at the unit, or
I would love to say I'm inside of every single detail, but we're still we're just running, right? So I do know laundry's done at the houses. I do really take it sometimes. Our new office we actually just designed is actually right next door in the same complex is a vacation rental laundry service and laundromat. So we actually plan on meeting those owners at some time, at some point, especially when we bring on all of our in-house sheets and figure out how we're going to do our own internal linen service and figure out how we can hopefully get something to work with them where inspectors can then go drop off linens when they do an inspection, pick up the old linens, and then cleaners can just go clean. So that's kind of our hope long term.
Awesome. That's awesome. So wow, it just seems like there's just so many rolling balls around taking that many properties at one time. We have talked to a couple people who have done it. One guy we talked to did like 60, and we asked him like, how did you keep the owners? He's like, I just told everybody we're going to shoot their property again for free. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of out of pocket costs.
We're doing the same. We're going to roll free photos when we have everybody sign new contracts. We're going to come up with a way that we can get the white linen service. It's a win-win, and hopefully we had a good enough summer that they could see the delta about giving us that opportunity. So I think that's a perfectly good idea to do that, and it has some cost, and we plan on rolling our locks over because we just bring a suite up, and so we'll probably just buy new locks for all the owners too. It's kind of some of our thoughts to say, hey, we're here to work with you. We're not here to nickel and dime you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain to me.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt. No, you go, bro.
Oh, explain to me how your linen service will work. Is this going to be like a yearly fee for the owners?
That's something we're working through. At the other company, we just have them we have them buy the linens up front. We say, hey, we'll order them for you. We send them the receipt. We put it on their first statement. And then as they're replenished, we just buy them. But that's a goal too. We're going to work through it because we'll just make it the most advantageous for owners and for us. So it makes it easy and more advantageous on the operations side than it is on the cost side. Because I'd rather eat a few bucks to just make it easy and simple. It's the same with like supplying consumables. I'm not going to charge an owner for aluminum foil or parchment paper. I just want to carry it. I don't want to be told I can't carry that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me because I asked a lot of people about linens pro. I've been asked a ton of times by different people, like, do you have a linens program? And I'm like, no. So it's like I ask people because I'm just curious about it. I mean, I provide all the consumables too, and I get where you're coming from. I want everything to be the same. I don't want anything to differ. I know, and if you stay at this property, you get the same stuff that's going to be at that property. So it's like, when it comes to the consumables. But yeah, I was just curious about the linen program.
I
I'm
think
sure
it'd be
Austin.
easier as a monthly service. I haven't figured it out because then you still have to manage inventory and all that too of all of those. Which then if you got to use a Breezeway or a Top Gear, some other inventory management system to keep track of all of that. So that's just one of the many small things you've got to figure out there when you're working through the linen service. And
Yeah, we
does it
talked to
include
Michael
towels?
Freeman.
Or does it include pillows?
Yeah,
So
yeah. When we talked to Michael Freeman, he was last a couple weeks ago, Austin, like a month ago. He was saying that he got with some program that drop shipped them. So basically, he would charge the owner X amount, I think it was, or whatnot, and a markup on it, and then he would get them drop shipped to the house or something like that. So I
I
don't know.
like
There's
it.
probably a lot more than one ways to skin a cat. I'm sure.
So where is so like I think it was on the Secrets podcast or something. You were talking about your goals. But like where are you at now, if you don't mind sharing? Like from a gross revenue perspective, and like I guess where are you headed? Like what's your goal now? Is it like obviously you want to be acquiring new clients, but at the same time, this is a massive undertaking. So I'm sure you're just more in like stabilization mode. But like where are you at now and where are you trying to go?
Yeah, between the two companies, we'll probably do about 8 million in gross bookings. Um, so we do about six or so, or six and a half at the larger company, and then with the 15 units, we do about one and a half to 1 point. I think we'll do about 1.8 over there. So we're at 8. The goal is to reach 10 by the end of this year, and then we want to reach 30 in the next 3 years. And 30 million in gross bookings in the next 3 years is our goal between the two markets.
Damn, that's lofty, but I mean at the same time, you're acquiring a management company of 100 uh units at a time. It seems like you have the mindset and you're headed in the right direction
It
for
is
sure.
it is a big goal, and you're right. We are in stabilization, but it's interesting because you have to be constantly acquiring new clients, even if you are in stabilization, just because you are still going to lose clients. And even then, like it's not like you're going to reach out to leads and they're going to all sign tomorrow. You'll sign on one or two or three, maybe one a month for a while, and so you have the bandwidth usually to figure that out. Which is another process we're getting figured out, but we get enough. We even get organics. I think we've signed 3 clients in the past month just from like people walking in and word of mouth, um, from the reputation of the old company before we purchased it.
That's awesome. Are you planning to acquire any more companies? I know you get your vision with the gross revenue, but is there more of a vision to acquire more properties or just try to increase the revenue in all the properties across the portfolio to get that 30 million?
We do see a big opportunity to help owners increase revenue. Um, that was kind of the big thing. So we do want to focus there. And then, yeah, we do want to acquire more units, and we do want to acquire more companies in the markets. That's our hope. I think that's just a better way to do it, especially once we get some stuff more stabilized on our end that we can reach out and hopefully create a win-win for another operator. So we're both uh, getting to where we both want to get to, and it's a win-win for homeowners and guests as well because we can provide more resources at that point. We can afford more local people, so you just get so much more scale. I feel like being able to be in the homes uh, in that fashion.
Yeah. Your story is so interesting to me because it's just like we've talked to a lot of people and it's just like the reverse way Like, it's just like it's like the 60 unit is merging or acquiring a 20 unit, or 200 is acquiring a 50, and it's like the 20 unit is acquiring 100 and whatever it was for your situation. So it's like it's very interesting to me to wrap my brain around like how different that process is going through their systems and taking a little bit here and there versus like what you were saying is a tuck in where it's just like, hey, we can roll these 15 to 25 listings, plug and play, go meet the owners, easy money. So you definitely, in my opinion, chose the road less traveled. But I think it's cool.
It's been fun, but yeah, a lot more friction, I think, in this route. But it was like, it was a good opportunity we saw, and it pushed me closer to my goals to get to that gross booking. And it was like, this is a good fit. Like, I see a win-win. The owner, we talked to the owner, and it seemed like he thought we were a good fit as well. And we were like, well, if anybody can figure out, why not us? People have done this
Was there
before.
was there any like I guess I don't know if you had direct contact with the owner in this process, but was he ever like how are you at 20 units going to acquire me at 100 units? Was there some skepticism there? Like, are you
Yeah, we were
capable?
interviewed. I had
What?
to go
Huh?
through an interview. I basically had to go
Oh,
through an interview. Yeah,
okay, so you must have
but it
sold
was great.
yourself really well. You must have sold yourself really well because I would have been like, man, this is interesting, you know?
Yeah, we sat down with him and his daughter and talked through it. And he was asking me what softwares we use and all that, and he was like pretty impressed because we use a lot of that. We did use a lot of similar softwares, and I had enough knowledge for like how I was paying taxes and stuff. And then he was like, "Oh, seems like they know what they're doing." Um,
Was the,
and
oh,
then we
go,
talked
sorry,
for
go
a
ahead.
while. So yeah, it was just I think he was just impressed that okay, I've been in the space. We have great mentors in the space. We know where we're going. We run a good ship so far, and we use similar softwares. I think he was like, okay, they're capable. They want it. They're ready for to take this into the next. Hopefully, we can carry this on for the next 40 years, kind of deal.
Yeah. No, no, you came well prepared and sold yourself really well, it sounds like. Was there any competition for us? I mean, I get like LinkedIn messages and stuff, at least like two or three, like probably like two a week of people trying to acquire us. Was it a competitive process, or was this kind of just like an off-market deal that you structured, or was there a bunch of people trying to close this deal with this guy? What'd that look like?
I know he had a couple of offers, but the business just I don't think was in the space in the place for the business wasn't in a space for traditional financing, so that makes it more difficult. And then also I think bigger players are looking for something that is more that was just running more efficiently, right? They don't want something that can come in and pick up all the pieces and figure out how to make it operate better. They wait until hey, it's running at 80%. Let's get the last 20 on the next turn. So I think that was kind of it. So there was only a couple of other offers, and I think ours was the best. And after some negotiation, we found something that was a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. I guess we probably honestly should have started with this question too, but I am curious, like how how long were you hunting? Because you have to go into a mode where you're like, hey, I'm in acquisition mode and I'm looking for this now. And now you have to treat it almost as a sales job and to start prospecting. So like how did the search process go for you? How long did it take? How many people did you reach out to? How many conversations did you have roughly? Like just run me through like the kind of prospecting process for people that are listening and they're like, hey, I want to acquire a management company, but I'm not sure where to start. Like, what'd that look like for you?
I mean, in all honesty, you can start by pulling a list online, right, and then reaching out to those operators or whatever information you can find about them. Um, but I had two opportunities come my way, but we looked at a couple. Found this one we found on Raincatcher. I looked at some of the Costco deals up where I was at. Um, and I had one other owner that my cleaner said, hey, I know someone that might be willing to sell. Let me connect you. And that was about a year and a half ago or about a year ago. And that just didn't materialize yet. And hopefully we can circle back on that. Um, but in all honesty, I pulled a list of local managers and then I said, hey, here's what I was looking for. In all honesty, at first I was like, hey, I'm going to reach out for smaller units. But at some point I was like, hey, I should reach out, not that 10 to 20 unit, but you can still find operators in the 40s and 50s that are just ready for a new phase of life or want to move or whatever it is. So I didn't do a whole bunch of cold outreach in all honesty. Um, I was looking, I let people know I was looking, and that's how the opportunities kind of came my way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you found it on Raincatcher, okay. So how long did it take for you to acquire it? How long were the negotiations?
We submitted our first LOI right before Christmas, and then we closed on May 8th. So
Wow.
just over 5 months, or just about 5 months.
It's stressing me out just thinking about it. I feel like there's just so many moving gears. I'd be like, shit, what do I do first?
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you have a great team though, for especially for the acquisition process, like having a great lawyer, we paid for quality of earnings, and so they really, and then having some good mentors, it really helps you walk through a majority of um, the item, like the majority of the different checklist items. Say, hey, what am I missing here? Because they're helping you look through that. And obviously, you're paying a premium maybe for your lawyer to look through a few more things, but with a purchase that's $1 million, I'd rather just pay. I'd rather pay a little extra to make sure most of our things are crossed. There's still going to be surprises, and you can't catch everything. But I think with the right people, it makes it a lot easier, because there were times where I was like, well, what do we need to do next year? And it was like we were just kind of waiting. It was like, hurry up and wait. It felt like quite a few times during the escrow process, like get some documentation, then wait for their answers. And then, the lawyers go back and forth, and they reach out to us and ask how we want to handle it.
back and forth. So tell everybody how you funded the deal.
Yeah. So we did basically a combination of seller financing. We did a friends and family raise, and then me and my business partner both put money down as well. So we had looked at, I've done private money deals for real estate and stuff and hard money lenders. And I reached out. It was just no, 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 because there's no assets backed against it, right? There's no physical
Right.
real estate. It's a lot easier if you're buying a piece of real estate or buying some sort of physical asset where they're like, okay, there's collateral here that we can use to secure this funding. So we struck out there, and so then we were like, okay, well, it's a good deal. How can we make it happen? And so we worked with the seller, and we gave him the price he wanted, and then they worked with us on the terms. And so, like I said, my business partner came in with about 30%. We raised about 45%, and then the seller, we just have one deferred payment. It's not, we didn't do a holdback. There's no holdback. We have a deferred payment in 18 months. That's how we structured it.
So you have to pay the rest of it in 18 months in one lump sum?
Yeah, one lump sum.
It's awesome. Yeah, I always ask that too, because everybody just does it like, it's like, I guess it's like with anything with real estate, there's like 45 different ways to skin the cat. Everybody does it differently. So I find it interesting because my assumption is, especially like the way that business was structured, you really can't get any kind of financing for that because it's not structured and it's not anything, I guess. And
You can get
not
SBA loans, which is hopefully our goal, but it's tougher. It takes a lot longer. The books have to be really in really good shape, and so it was just something that wasn't going to pan out. Like you said, you can do any. There's a million ways to do this. So I talked to other operators like, well, I did it this way. I did a holdback like this, or I took the average of all the units management commissions for the year, and then made that if one property leaves, that's how much the holdback is worth. And someone was like, I underwrote every single property separately, and there's a million ways to do it. You just have to find what the seller's comfortable with and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
How did you, maybe you already answered this. I tuned out for a second, but how did you deal with like if clients didn't move over or whatever, like was it non-negotiable, or like if you after the acquisition they were like 10 people did not do service, like how did you structure that, like in case people didn't leave, you didn't overpay for what you agreed to because you lost 15% or whatever, or how did you structure that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so normally that's like a holdback, which is like usually if you work with an M&A lawyer, especially one in this industry for this, they can help you, especially if it's pre LOI. Say, hey, here's how I would structure the deal. So that's usually a holdback, right? And there's usually like either like a vesting period, so a client has to stay. If they only stay for less than a year, then I take $10,000 off the purchase price. If they stay for only 1 year, then I take $5,000 off the purchase price. And usually holdback funds, which I could be wrong, but I think it's a lot harder to do a holdback, or you can't even do it with an SBA loan currently anymore. I think they changed those rules. But what we did is we took on that risk. So there is no, if clients leave, it's on us. And so we thought there was enough value to be added based on what we paid for the business that we were willing to take that risk. And so we met them. That was something the seller didn't want to do. And so we found a number that they were happy with, and we were happy with the amount of risk associated with it. And we basically accounted for a 10% loss and said, hey, if we lose 10%, we feel like we still got a fair deal.
Yeah. It seems like between the mentorship and your industry knowledge and the lawyer, like, I mean, it seems very overwhelming, and I know it was, but you have the right people on your team and in your corner that have been through this. So it's not as challenging because what you don't understand, I guess the people there can help kind of guide you through that process. So it seems like you had, I mean, it sounds like you have overall, you assembled a good team that was, able to help guide you through this.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe someone says, hey, you shouldn't do it that way, but at some point you have to decide for yourself if you believe in yourself enough, hey, I'm going to take action on this and go for it. I think I can figure this out. And so there are times where they're like, hey, I wouldn't do it this way. I would do this. And there were times where we're like, well, you know what? We can take that risk. That's fine.
I love it.
No, but you were an engineer, so got to figure it out, right?
Yeah, he's a little bit. Go ahead. Sorry.
He's got that engineer brain, man. So he's just like, oh, okay, well, this is this. Let's do this. We got it.
He's a little bit smarter than the co-host bros.
Yeah. Hence the name, right? No. Awesome. Cameron, that was killer. And I know you all got things to do, so we appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to share with anybody before you get off, where to find you, follow you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Cameron Masters. I try to get on there. And then Instagram, it's Cameron.masters_. So those are usually the two platforms I use. So if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to message me there.
That's killer. And then, 6 months from now, make sure you sign up for his mastermind on how to acquire. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, no. Awesome. Thanks so much, man. Guys, me and Austin pay for this show out of our pocket. So if you get value and you enjoy it and, you have fun or think we're funny or whatever, anything, if you get any kind of positive experience, share the show, rate the show, do something to, message us, anything really. So with that, I'll let Austin close this out.
All righty. Well, thank y'all for listening. Peace.